Thanks for taking a look at Windward AutoTag for your reporting solution. To get started, go to the Windward website at windward.net and click on the Download Trial button. Here you'll be presented with a form where you need to fill out a user and the email that the Windward demo license key will be sent to. Lastly, you need to select your product. You'll see the .NET and Java engines, which can be integrated into a standalone or web application, also include AutoTag. We're going to use the AutoTag Template Designer product. Click Download Trial, and the Windward web installer will start to download in the lower left-hand corner of your browser. Once we launch the web installer, it's going to grab the latest version of AutoTag from Windward servers. At that point, the Windward installer will start, accept the license agreement, and then go to your email client to retrieve your demo license key. I'll scroll down and simply copy and paste the bolded license key in the email into the installer. You can paste it by hitting Ctrl-V and click Next. AutoTag will start to install into Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You'll notice after the installation that two tabs will appear inside of the Microsoft Office ribbons, an AutoTag and an AutoTag Manager tab. At this point, AutoTag is copying its installation files, but it's also copying some sample templates into your Documents/AutoTag directory. And I'll show you where that is in a moment. At the end of the installation, go ahead and open Office on the close. I'm going to open Microsoft Word. You'll be able to see that the ribbon should reflect this image here. Okay, with a new document open in Microsoft Word, I'm going to go to the AutoTag Manager tab, and I'm going to quickly create a template with something unique to Windward called pods. It allows a user to take something that's already been created and easily drag and drop it into their template. So I'm going to load a pod file by going to the Load Pods local, and I'm just going to quickly add this file. At this point, I can open my pod bin and start easily creating my template. You'll be able to see from the pods here, I can connect to my data source. Notice the data bin is grayed out, so I'm not connected. Simply drag and drop the data source onto your template. After a few seconds, the connection will be created, and we can now see that we have a connection to our data bin with all of our different items, in this case our database. So now I'm going to go ahead and start building the template. I'm going to start dragging some items out and working just like I normally would inside of Microsoft Word. And this particular section here is a table with a list of customers. So I can simply drag that onto the template, and I have a table with a list of our customers. To generate the report, I can simply go to Output, click Yes to save my template, and in a few moments, my report has been easily created to show a list of customers. You'll also notice, because you're using a demo key, the demo text will be printed at the bottom of the report. With a real license key, you won't see this anymore. Now let's go into how I actually created those different items in AutoTag. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and start a new template and show you how we connected to that data source. From the AutoTag Manager tab, we'll go ahead and click on Data Sources. At this point, you'll see Windward's new data source connection wizard. Now, our data sources are arranged by different types. You can see we support various SQL, web, and application data sources. We also have a Connections tab, and this shows any connections that are active or recently used. So to create a new data source, I'm going to go ahead and click on the SQL server because I want to connect to a Microsoft SQL server. And we'll just call this Demo MS SQL. We need to give a name to our data source because you can connect to many different data sources. You most times will only use one. However, if you're using more than one, this is how you differentiate which tags get their information from which data source. Now, an SQL server is special in the fact that it'll scan your network. It'll see if there's any database servers out there. If there aren't, go ahead and just enter one. I'm going to use a public server that we have set up at Windward called mssql.windward.net. Feel free to use this for when you're working with your samples. The username and password are both demo. And I'm going to go ahead and quickly test that. I have a successful connection. At this point, I can select which database I want to work with. So I'm going to use the Northwind database. A quick test again, and we'll click Connect. At this point, you can see that we have an active connection for Demo SQL. I'm going to go ahead and close the connection wizard. Now the data bin automatically loads after you've connected to a data source. And you can access that anytime by clicking on the data bin. To create that table and start this document again, I'm going to do this in individual pieces. So I have my list of customers. And let's go ahead and style this as a title in Microsoft Word. And now I can simply drag and drop the customers list from my data source. I'm prompted for which columns I want to be built inside of the table that AutoTag is going to automatically build for you. So we'll select a couple of columns here, the company name, customer name, contact name. We'll do the city and address and the country code and postal code. You can move these around by clicking the up and down buttons on this interface. Once this is finished, you can now see that a table's been created. All the AutoTag tags have been entered. And if you'd like to see what these tags look like, you can certainly click on the tag tree. This is an easy way to navigate through your tags and see what the structure is if you have any conditional statements or you have anything that loops back and forth. You'll also be able to see any of the particular items for a tag that require more input in the properties section below. Now that I've got my list in here, a good thing to do is to check and see what data is going to be returned. So that's a lot of customers. What we're going to do is edit this customer list using the AutoTag SQL wizard. This is something AutoTag Windward designed to make it much easier for users to select their data in SQL servers and other data sources. It's laid out as so. On the left-hand side, your current data source that you're connected to is listed there. All of your operations are in the middle, and any preview is listed on the right-hand side. You can see from my customers list that I already have the columns selected from earlier when I drug that table in. But the next thing I want to do is sort. So I see that there's a lot of different countries for my customers. So let's go ahead and drag that country column into the sort. You can now see that all my customers are now sorted by country. This is often referred to as group by in other products. Next, I'd like to sort the company name alphabetically. So now I can see that my company names are sorted alphabetically for each country listing that's sorted. You can change the sort order just by clicking on the icon. Lastly, I want to go ahead and add a filter here. So let's go ahead and select a node of country. And you have different inequalities here. I'm going to go ahead and use starts with. You can contain a name, it's like, it could be greater than or equal. There's lots of options here. Lastly, I'm going to enter the letter that I want to filter on. In this case, it's B. So now I can see all my customers that start with a country name that starts with B, which is Belgium and Brazil in this case. You'll also notice below this SQL is being built as you drag and drop items. You do not need to worry about any of this. AutoTag builds the SQL for you automatically. Once we click OK, it's always good to preview what you did. And you can now see that that shortened filtered list is enabled here. Lastly, I'd like to change the style of the way this customer list looks. I can go to the table tools with the table selected inside of Microsoft Word, select the header row, and I can start to look at any of the different styles I'd like applied to my table. Once I've applied a style, I can simply go back to AutoTag, click Output, again save my new document, and you can now see that there is a list of customers generated just like we did earlier with pods. Lastly, how did we make those pods? We'll show you next. One thing also to note is if you want to preview any of the data directly from the data bin, you can right-click and preview and click the up arrow, and you can get a quick preview before entering tags into your document. So let's go ahead and create this into pods that we used earlier. To do that, I can go to the AutoTag Manager tab. I simply select the item that I want and then save it as a pod. The first thing you have to do is create a data source pod. In this example, I'll create a pod file called demopod2. And you can see it sees all of my active data sources. I simply select the ones I want, click OK, and now a pod has been added to that pod file. You'll get a notification in the lower right-hand corner. Next, I want to go ahead and select the items I want to create to be reusable drag and drop pods. I select the title, and a pod can be what it's selected on. It could be the tag, paragraph, even seller table, or the entire document. And I'll just say that this is the title for the pod name, and description is title of customer list. Once I click OK, my pod file has already been selected for me. You can also browse for another pod file or create a new one directly from here as well. Next, I'm going to select the table and create a pod from that table, and we'll just call this the list of customers. I'll add in the description that it is a list of customers starting with country B. And that gives a little more information when you're working with the pod. Now all I have to do is go to Load Pods. I can add local, browse. There's the pod file I just created. Click OK. And back to the AutoTag Manager, the AutoTag tab, the pod bin, and you'll now see that here are each one of our pods. And I can completely delete these documents, and I can start dragging these items out just as I normally would have. Generating the document again, and your report is now created just with a few clicks. If you're looking for additional help inside of the product, go ahead and go to the AutoTag Manager tab. You can click on the Windward Tutor, which is a great place to start. This is Windward's own web-based tutorial. They'll show you how to insert tags, and it shows each step being processed with text and then a small graphic on what you should do. So it's very, very intuitive. Another great place to look is the Windward Wiki. That's located at wiki.windward.net. Search for whatever you're looking for. You can also see tips from our blogs. You can also add comments to any of these articles. And if you're a new user, I'd select the New Users section to help get you started with the product of your choice. Lastly, there is a lot more to our product than what I've shown here. So please take a look at any of our sample demonstrations that we conduct monthly. You can see here there are a lot of different tags in which we work with, doing conditional formatting, filtering, charts. The basis of the tool is to simply sit on top of Microsoft Word and use what you already know from Microsoft Office and allow you to connect data to it to create dynamic templates. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.